The sheep mask is sort of an image that we see first episode. The idea of masks, to me, is a really interesting theme this season. And the fact that all the clones have the same face, you know.
MK is very smart. She's a computer hacker. That's kind of her special skill. She's extremely good. She's very elusive and very security conscious. She is kind of off the grid and in the shadows, surviving. She turns out to be very important to our characters, both in the past and the present.
The sheep mask itself, there's a little Dolly the sheep reference there.
There were definitely distinct camps of people that wanted the mask to be a certain animal or a certain shape or figure and all that kind of stuff. So we sat in this big boardroom and we looked at all the masks and we narrowed it down, and then there was like the farm animal pile and the rabbit pile and the scary pile, and eliminated it till we finally had, I think, a rabbit and a sheep, and the sheep won.
I haven't seen the sheep mask yet, so I know about it. I've read about it a ton, but I haven't seen it.
And then they made 19 versions of the sheep mask for us to choose which would be the iconic version of the sheep mask.
John Fawcett and Graeme and I talked a lot about her backstory, how she physically is in the world. The first day I played MK was on the opposite side of a clone shot. So I had already played Beth in that clone scene and Catherine had played MK. So I was stepping into MK in a Technodolly shot and exploring her for the first time in a very technical way. So it was very counter to what I would have wanted to do, you know, because I sort of would like to be a bit more free and less have you know, the technical stuff to think about and like the kind of rhythm to follow. But it you know, it is what it is.
There's a lot of physical contact. We have hugging and passing, you know, a lot of passing behind and in front of and door slamming. And what was really cool about it was all done in one giant sweeping Technodolly move. So it worked, which I shouldn't be surprised that it worked by this time, but it's always nice when it does work.
I felt like she was a real exploration, like day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like there was no kind of, oh right, okay, this is who MK is, you know? It was like constantly evolving, and I'm still discovering who she is.
Well, we'd always talked about doing the Beth episode. Honestly, right from, I remember Comic-Con after season 1. And I kind of jokingly mentioned a Beth episode, and people loved that idea in the room. And we talked about it a lot. We just couldn't figure out how to do it or where it would get placed.
When you go backwards, you don't want to lose the momentum of moving forwards. So it's almost more important that every single thing that happens when you go backwards is vitally important to moving the story forward, which it just makes it so much harder to write.
I think last year we kind of made a decision during season 3 that we were going to really try to reset the series in a way, like to try to kind of have a climax at the end of season 3 that would allow us to pass a couple of months and sort of reset ourselves. And the way to do that was to begin in the past. It was a desire to do a Beth episode, but from a story point of view, the way it worked was that Beth knew way more than we thought she did.
It was like a whole new character, because as much as we'd sort of talked about Beth and seen her briefly in like flashback videos and like on the platform, the train platform, we didn't really know much about her except like speculation, what Alison said or what Art said or what Sarah discovered in her investigation, being Beth, you know, in season 1. But she was a fully new character for me to develop.
Last year we did a sort of dream sequence with her, but it was a dream. It was Sarah's dream of what her version of Beth was. And this is actually Beth now, so that we get to hang out with.
Because we know all this mythology around her, it was really fun to kind of dismantle that and like see who the real human being was underneath of it. And she's so complicated and has such a darkness to her and such a sort of solitariness. She's not like the other clones where they sort of reach out to each other. She sort of peels herself away in a way that her separation is sort of her ultimate demise.
Shooting the show, it was a fabulous reunion. You know, Matt Frewer was back, Dylan Bruce was back.
When we kill off a character, it doesn't mean we don't miss the actor dearly on set.
Once they're buried in the garage, I figure they're done, not necessarily. Not necessarily at all.
The moment that the camera rolled on that first close-up of him and he was just giving his Matt Frewer looks and Dr. Leakey looks, it was awesome. And having Dylan back just felt like we were back at school, because he's been around at every season at the beginning of the year. So it was really nice and a really nice way to start off the season.
He was at his very wit's end last time we saw him. We go back to when he's clean shaven. He's going to the office still, isn't he? And, living that lie. It's hard to get your head around sometimes. It really is. It's complicated.
We had a number of characters that had only been really seen in season 1. Just even smaller characters like Raj or Angie, Art's partner in season 2. All these characters kind of making a return was really fun. It seemed like every other day, someone new would show up on set and you'd be like, hugs, I haven't seen you. It was very interesting. It's certainly a very new tone and an approach for Orphan Black.
I did abandon her. That gets addressed in that episode. I did. There were very good reasons for doing it.
Susan Duncan makes her feel very vulnerable.
We always sort of had Susan Duncan in our back pocket. Like, whatever happened to Susan Duncan? We saw her in a photograph with Ethan Duncan. We had the satisfaction of meeting one of our creators. I think we knew we always kind of knew that it was a good possibility we'd loop back and discover something deeper about that character and about that time period that informed, the birth of the clones.
It's interesting for them to meet as adults in this, as Rachel had always thought her mother and her father were dead, and now she's had interactions with both of them.
She disappeared in a fire.
She's sort of being kept as a weird prisoner by her mother at this point. So it's not the sort of magical reunion that we would hope for her.
In a curious kind of way, she is, in practical terms, Rachel's mother, but she is the creator of all these clones. So there is the potential for that kind of parental relationship with all of these girls. And that's a real dilemma for Susan.
We knew we wanted Ari back because we've had such a great time working with him. We really settled on this idea that Susan has a pet caster.
Every time I've worked with a brand new clone of Tats, it's always a brand new energy that she brings and that we both, can contribute to the scene.
But we've always been antagonistic towards each other. None of the Leda clones have ever been like buddies with the caster clones. So that relationship is familiar in that terms, but there's something different about Rachel in the way she speaks to a caster clone. And Ira has been raised singularly, as opposed to as part of a group of guys raised in the military.
I think Ira, like his brothers, also has mommy issues. And I'll leave it at that.
I think there's a real power struggle between the two of them, because I think they would have fought a lot as kids, and it seems like they sort of fall into that brother-sister thing really quickly.
We're building a sibling rivalry, and we'll be interested to see whether that results in open warfare or alliance.
When we shot that scene, I didn't think of them as brother and sister. And even in the scene when she says, "But you raised a caster instead," even then, I don't recall thinking there was like a Sophie's Choice thing. I haven't thought of them as my children. Rachel is different because she was. There was the chapter in my life of great happiness of being a mother, and then circumstance altered that. And I had to shut down something in my heart in order to move forward. So a parental relationship with Rachel is one thing. I don't feel parental toward Ira, even though he would have grown up under my eye.
We knew we wanted to get back to basics, being Sarah versus Rachel.
So every season in our finale, we like to have some sort of big clone moment, the clone dance party, the clone dinner party. This season, because we're sort of on a darker story path and we're not ending on a high note for our girls, there wasn't a real way that our storyline would let us have all of them in the same place at the same time.
This year we kind of were like, let's just do a big action scene. It's kind of our, our Empire Strikes Back episode in the sense that the good guys lose, right? So we just wanted to have a big throwdown in which it's a big, bloody, stabby, violent thing between Sarah and Rachel.
It gets messy, and there's a lot of blood and a lot of stabbing and a lot of whacking.
We are having Rachel smack Sarah in the head. We are having her stab her in the leg. We are having Rachel break Sarah's fingers, and we are having Rachel chase Sarah down to a final confrontation on the stairs at the opposite side of the room.
So it's this very violent, charged scene between these two enemies, and Rachel's kind of lost the plot.
It's a challenging clone sequence because it's action and there's blood and there's murderous intent. So it's not just, standing in a room and talking.
This is probably the most challenging we've had physically, to make sure that all of the hits and all the stunts are done just precisely so that it matches up in post.
So in addition to the actual clone work itself, we are going to be extending the cane. We will be extending and creating almost entirely the knife that's in the leg. We will be breaking Sarah's fingers. We will be doing what we call a heal and reveal for the blood work. So the blood has been painted in at its various stages, and we'll slowly reveal it so it runs down her face, runs down her leg. We have lights in the background of the scene. We will need to remove those. And then we're doing some digital squibs that hit the wall in the background as Rachel fires wildly.
This is only one day, this shoot. Just because it's 2 clones, we don't have to make time to change her over 4 or 5 times. So she's just changing once. So we'll be shooting it all in one day, but it's gonna be a really crazy day.
It's an exhausting show. I need to sleep, so I'm looking forward to that.
Helena is a fun character to have go away and then return, right?
It's just so much fun working with Helena, and I missed her. I'm happy to have her back.
Well, I think Helena's never been a domesticated creature. I think that she doesn't actually feel very comfortable in that house, like as much as she would like to be comfortable there. She definitely senses that Alison doesn't want her there, and that she's sort of throwing a wrench into the family, bringing cups, eating their food, being pregnant all over the place.
We needed to make a little space in part of the season. Helena seemed like a really good character because Helena's so independent. If she feels she's a burden on the Hendrixes, she's gonna pack up her baby collage and get some camping gear and go.
She sort of does what is natural to her and kind of like goes to the woods and just lives in the wild and eats like deer that she arrows, and that's the term. She arrows them.
We wanted her in a wigwam. And that was even before The Revenant, by the way.
That was.
We wanted her in a wigwam before anybody saw that.
You see her amazing lean-to, her like little fort that she builds in episode 409, and it's like, she's obviously very good at what she's doing. And she killed all those things herself and then made fashion out of them.
Well, we knew we wanted her to be a bow hunter. I don't know. The furs maybe were a little overkill.
Yeah. I knew there was going to end up just being one too many pieces of fur.
Man, being hogtied and like not being able to be untied between setups or, when we're shooting the scenes back to back to back, it is not painless. You get a little sore in the legs and in the arms, and I'm like lying on the ground hogtied for half an hour, and everybody's like just feet coming right by my face, just feet and like people walking around, and then someone would crouch down and like fix my hair and then like do my makeup, and I'm completely useless, cotton mouth just from, you know, having a sock in there. Oh, God. I was gonna wash my mouth out afterwards.
She is that kind of character that you can pack up for a little bit and send off, and then when she returns, everyone goes, yay!
You know, she's always there for us in the scariest of ways.
I love shooting that scene in the prison with Tatiana and Kristian. Just having the three of us, like us two sandwiched on the phone and him on the other side of the glass, looking totally victimized. And it's absolutely horrible, like the worst place for that guy to be in ever.
That was another idea that was brewing for a long time. I think knew we were going to do that at the beginning of the season.
It's just kind of, it sort of suited the storylines where everything was going. We needed to kind of bring the heat, and frankly, we wanted Donnie to get hard.
Donnie's got all the terminology down. He knows about a shiv and about a shank and what that means.
It was hilarious. I would walk through this like room full of these guys in the scene, and a few of them would be giving me some serious stink eye, and I'm just like, oh my God, I think they want to, and then cut, and they're like laughing and having a nice time, and I meet them, and they're like, oh, I'm Peter, it's great working with you. I'm like, I thought you wanted to actually shiv me, but no, you're just a nice guy. The game I would play is like, okay, the tattoo, sir, on your shaved head that wraps around the back, is that real or fake? And I wouldn't touch him, because that would be scary.
Part of our initial reason for Adele, for Felix's biological sister, was that she was kind of a disbarred lawyer. And so we liked being able to use her with Donnie, and that those storylines would eventually kind of come together.
Oh, Adele, you must be. Oh.
Yeah, forgot to mention that. Alison is Sarah's twin sister.
This is the first time that Adele has met any of the other clones, any of the other sisters, and is proving herself valuable to Clone Club. Or, I mean, we'll see if she's actually valuable. I don't know, disbarred lawyer. She can stay sober. I don't think she's sober.
She's drunk a lot.
and Lauren...
Today she drinks a fair amount.
To play drunk, you just kind of have to let go without trying to be drunk. You're just really kind of letting go. You know, don't be afraid of the ugly, because some people are just ugly when they're drunk, and I think that's kind of how I play Adele, like just not caring about anything, just kind of, she's a bit of a bulldozer, so.
There she is, hammered. You're like, I would never let that person represent me in court. And then they walk into court hammered and destroy everybody. Yeah. We like that character.
Yeah.
She is a functional train wreck. She's still managing somehow to defend somebody in a different country, so.
I think she's great casting as well. Her and Jordan look like they are, you know, brother and sister.
I know, that's what everybody said. They were like, you actually kind of look like siblings. She does look a bit like my oldest sister.
It's been fun kind of like creating that other piece for Felix that fills in the blanks in his backstory, but he is a kind of living, breathing new character for us in season 4.
It's Kendall's chance for her to redeem herself.
I think Kendall has been trying to make amends since we met her. Make amends to Mrs. S. And like a lot of characters in the show, she's discovering family for the first time. And we had talked to Alison the last time she was here. Of course, she lives in England, so she has to travel to be in, you know, in the few episodes she was in this year. And we said, you know, we have to go and say, okay, so next time you come back, it's probably the end. But we promise you, you won't go gently. And I think it worked.
Yeah.
I know Graeme and John said to me, oh, there's some crying coming up. I said, oh no, what? And it was terribly upsetting to do it, I must say. It's devastating to discover that she is going to die. And Alison Steadman is such a wonderful woman. I'm absolutely mad about her. And we got very upset, the two of us, doing it. We were really, really crying for ages afterwards. I was absolutely wrecked.
It was a big emotional scene, for sure.
I've been a huge fan of hers for a long time. It was absolutely amazing to get to work with her. The first day that she was coming onto set, I was really terrified that instead of sort of saying, hello, nice to meet you, that I would just go, and just vomit on top of her, because I like her so much. But I managed not to vomit on top of her and to actually do some acting with her for a while instead. It was, yeah, good. Much better option.
I feel like her character's gone through such a journey. What's great about Kendall is that she softens, but she still stays Kendall. She never kind of loses that bite and that anger and that badger thing, which is so cool. Even in the end, when she's sort of noble and heroic, she's still herself, and it's such an intense scene.
There's nothing like a really upbeat ending of putting a bullet in an old lady's head and then torching her. just we like to send out our actors, and then you give them a bottle of scotch as a parting gift.
Generally, if the actors see us coming with a bottle of scotch, they run away.
You know, you can be a victim, or you can totally get to the bottom of it, you know?
What's going on in my life right now? What happened to me at the end of last season? I don't know what's going on because nobody's told me anything. That's Crystal.
I know she's coming back because Tatiana is just doing her duck face more often. She's doing her Crystal face, where it's like, good morning.
Crystal is on a mission.
I'm on a professional investigation right now.
Plan with Crystal has always been twofold. She should be really fun and funny and help us with our comedic tone.
I'm late. I'm late for my own pregnancy.
And that it's really fun to put her in danger, but our mission is to keep her naive. And that balancing act has been a lot of fun.
I love that. I love that one of the clones doesn't know. She's so close, though. She's so close to knowing, and she just doesn't, because it's the most absurd conclusion you could come to.
There was a lot of debate, like last year.
When do we tell her?
Are we gonna tell her? Are we gonna? And then we just kind of went, no, let's keep one of our clones like just in the dark, and that's part of the fun of that character. And so there are currently no plans afoot for letting her into Clone Club.
And like Crystal says in her own words, what did she say? She says, I'm not that smart, but I'm not totally stupid.
She's actually put a lot together, much more than I would ever be able to put together, because I literally could not tell you how A plus B equals C at this point in our show.
She's figured out sort of what's going on in her own mind, but boy, she got it wrong.
Stem cells in cosmetics.
We find her at Brightborn at this fertility clinic place that sort of does genetic testing on babies, gene sequencing on children. Is that right? They do something with the genes in the babies.
It is sort of hot button science, and it will continue to be so. We're in our science fiction step ahead of where it's at. But you can imagine in the future, germline editing, you're actually making genetic changes that remain in future generations. It's a complex issue, largely illegal in many places, but it touches on our themes of Orphan Black, some of our scientific themes, which are, if humans can do something scientifically, eventually they will.
I just came here to have, like, a baby.
Do your Crystal, do that again? Can you do your Crystal impersonation? This is gonna get used a lot on the internet. That little bit of
terrific.
Yeah.
On the page for Ferdinand's entry, it says something like, Mrs. S is in the park, she's trying to make a phone call, and a voice says, someone call for a doctor? And then it says on the page, Ferdinand arrives in all his charming, devilish glory, or something like that. It was just, it was funny and great, and I was like, wow, I better do that then, huh?
How that character relates to Helsinki in the past, I think, was a really fun, deep part of the mystery of the show this season.
In this scene we're going to shoot in this episode, it's the one clone that escaped it, and her rage and her indignation is profound.
This really dark scene, MK kind of playing out her revenge fantasy on Ferdinand. To get to do that scene with him and getting to the heart of why she is who she is and what her deepest pain is was so interesting to me to explore and so telling of, you know, who this character is.
He starts out as a kind of an antagonist and then ends up as an uneasy sort of alliance with Sarah and Mrs. S.
He's a bad guy, sort of, but we love the fact that he's this frenemy that we kind of can't do without, and we're gonna have to deal with him.
I think the thing that is most attractive and compelling about Ferdinand is his sense of humor.
People who are shouting about how bad they are never as truly frightening as people who are being really charming, but you know that actually they'd kill you in a heartbeat.
Ah, la frittata.
He was making a frittata on set the other day as Ferdinand, just like talking about a frittata. It was like the most kind of funny, snide delivery.
When I read the scene as it was, it's, you know, thinking about the dynamics and what the story is and so on. Then you get in there and it's almost like a Charlie Chaplin, you know, a Buster Keaton or something. I loved that. Plus, there's a lot of storytelling that happens in that scene. So it's very smart to make it physical, to make it comic, to have the other stuff that cuts against it. You know, that's I guess the quality of the writing.
We also really enjoyed revealing that at his heart, the man's in love with Rachel.
He does love this other very strange, interesting, twisted person. It's real for him. So Rachel for Ferdinand is the original, and all the other clones are dispensable.
Can't wait to see that reunion.
Mm-hmm. You know what? This just happened in the scene that we just shot. I had a line where I was cooking and I say, Rachel was a foodie too. And we did one take and they got to the end of it and everyone started laughing and I was like, well, I thought it was an okay take. What is it? What's wrong? And they said, you said Alison. You said Alison's a foodie too. I said, no, I didn't. What? I did? And then I thought, Alison's kind of uptight in a Rachel-y kind of way, you know? That's more, maybe he has a type.
All season long, we had Rachel sort of imprisoned in this mysterious space, and she didn't know where she was, and we really enjoyed the reveal of coming upstairs into this modern house, and one reveal after another, that there's this modern aspect to it, and then not only that, you're on an island. You're completely isolated.
The island, it's a bit of a mystery, similar to the rendition camp. I'm not gonna say where it is.
The fact that it is remote is one of the scary, cool things about it.
It's so empty, and like it's just this kind of cool reflection of the fact that there's all these years between Susan and Rachel that haven't been filled with any kind of meaningful relationship. So it's a cool space that the sort of location of it reflects that kind of coldness and that space between two people.
We've been talking about it since last year, never quite sure that it was a good idea. It was a really interesting narrative idea, and, you know, the island of Dr. Moreau and the threads of things and those kind of literary references we really liked. But it also separates our characters, so we talked a lot about how it would work.
The challenge with our show is that we shoot in Toronto, and we can only shoot a certain distance around Toronto, and Toronto's a massive big city, and there's not a lot of remote islands that have massive, beautiful homes on them. So we sort of had to tape different locations and stitch them together using visual effects.
When we go to the island, we're actually going to be filming on location, and then we'll be removing Toronto in the background. And then as we pan up onto the cliffs, we'll be taking a house we filmed in Toronto and digitally putting it up there.
It offers some fairly stunning visuals and makes it very frightening to be there alone. It's not exactly a tropical beach holiday at all.